Good morning, all. I am Swapna, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering AIML in Mlritm. Today, I am dealing with the functions in Python concept. First of all, what is a function? A function is a group or a block of related statements that perform a specific task. So to perform a specific task, we are writing some set of lines of code that executes that particular task only. Functions help us to break our program into smaller modules. Why? Because here the main intention is to use functions is break our program into smaller modules. Why? Because by breaking the long program into modules, we can execute very easily, and we can use that set of code in whatever we need. There we can use those set of statements, those functions in our program. By calling the function name only, we are using that total code in single line. That's why we are using functions in our programming language to reduce the code, number of lines of code. So types of the functions, coming to the types of functions in Python, we have two types of functions. One is inbuilt functions and second one is a user defined functions. Inbuilt function is nothing but the code, the Python code which is wrote for a particular function, and that code is already in the Python virtual machine. By using that inbuilt functions, we are writing the code. In inbuilt functions is nothing but function that readily come with Python are called built-in functions. Readily come, that means the code is already exist in the Python virtual machine. The Python interpreter has a number of functions and types built into it that are always available. So in Python, we have number of inbuilt functions. If we don't have any inbuilt function related to a particular task, then the user has to write the number of lines or number of code for the execute a specific task. So those type of functions are nothing but the user defined functions. So when we don't have any inbuilt function in Python virtual machine for a particular task, then the user is going to type the code for that particular task. So if our requirement is unavailable in built-in function, then we can define our own function is called defined functions, user defined functions and built-in functions. Built-in functions are the already the code is exist in the Python virtual machine, but user defined function, the user has to write a code for a particular task. So these are the two types. The syntax for the user defined function is first line is this one. This is the definition part. So while defining a function, we have to use the keyword def, def, and this function name and the parameters, the set of parameters, and these parameters are separated with comma, and this is a syntax for defining a function, and this is end with this colon, and this is end with colon. So after defining a function, that is nothing but just like this is a header type, just like header. So after that, we are writing some set of statements for a particular task. Statement 1, statement 2, up to so until statement n to execute a particular task or to complete the particular task. So for writing these statements, we are following some gap here. So we are writing some gap or we are maintaining some gap, exact gap, that is called indentation. So that is nothing but, this indentation is nothing but when the statement has an indentation, then that statement is belong to for that particular function definition. So this is indentation. These are the steps. So these steps, all steps has the same indentation. That's why these all statements belongs to the function name parameter, this function. Okay. Now the key points while defining a function or user defined function is the keyword def. indicates the start of the function header. This is function name. Should be any name or unique and a valid identifier. Parameters are the arguments through which we pass values to a function, or the last one is this colon. The colon indicates that the end of the function header. When we wrote the colon at the function header, the last, then it indicates the end of the function header. After that, the statements of the function must have the same indentation. These are all the statements for a particular. These are all statements wrote for a particular task or particular event or particular thing. So these answer belongs to only one particular task. That's why these are all statements following same indentation. Okay, this is a syntax for user defined functions. First one is def, the function name, following by a parameters list. Those parameters are separated by comma, and the function header compulsory end with a colon. It indicates the end of the function header. And next, the set of statements. Those statements are wrote for the particular task. Then those statements follow some indentation. The all statements which are in the particular task, those are all contain the same indentation. Next one is the documentation string. That is also nothing but also called as doc string. It is used to explain what a function does, although it is optional. Documentation is good programming practice. Why? Because documentation line, it tells about the which program we are writing. So that code is for which purpose, for which task we are writing the code. This indicates that purpose. So here example is def high of name colon. So the def is the definition of a function. High is a function name is the parameter name, and colon. So this is called, this total line is called up to here doc string. This doc string is represented in colons, triple quotes. This program is to print a high message that is passed as an argument to the function or to the program. So it tells about what is the program we are writing. What is the program we are writing? So this is the doc string, but it is optional. But it is good method to write the doc string in the beginning of the program. We have a doc string immediately below the function header. So it is compulsory. We have to write the function header below the function header only, not above the function or not below the statements of the function. We generally use triple quotes so that doc string can extend up to the multiple lines. So doc string we are writing triple quotes. So here we are writing the doc string in triple quotes. This is. So when we are writing a particular string in triple quotes, the Python virtual machine considers it as a doc string. This string is available to us as the __doc __ attribute of the function print. Okay, this is about doc string. Next. So we are dealing with user-defined functions. That's why here we have some calling functions, called functions, etc., etc. Now, what is a calling function? Once we have defined a function, we can call it from another function, program, or even from the Python prompt also. So wherever we require that particular code, from there, we call the function definition with a particular arguments list. To call a function, we have to type the function name with appropriate parameters. So here we have the example def high name. So high is a function name is a parameter name, and this is the doc string. Here we are printing high comma name. So what is the name here? This name comes from the calling function. So here we are calling high in single quotes Swapna. Swapna is a string, that's why we are indicating in the single quotes. So name is name. It came from this value came from the Here. Here this is totally is called, this line is nothing but the calling function. So we are calling the function with values. Then the output is hi print. This name came from this calling function and that value is Swapna. That's why hi Swapna. The next statement is a return statement. The return statement is used to exit a function and go back to the place where it was called. Syntax: return. Return is a keyword, and expression list. This statement can contain an expression that gets evaluated and the value is returned. If there is no expression in the statement, this one is if there is no expression in the statement or return statement itself is not present inside a function, then the function will return the none object. So suppose here return expression list. If that return statement contains any expressions or values, then it returns that value to the calling function or function definition. But if you not mention, we are not writing any expression list, then it return nothing. That's why the default return statement value is null. Def hi name, print hi name, print hi Swapna. Then here we are not mentioning any return statement, that's why it is none. In C, C++, Java, a function can return only one value or only one single value. It is possible in return statement. But in Python, we can return any number of values. But these any number of values should be enclosed in the form of tuple. So we can return any number of values to the calling function by those any number of values are separated, or those return statements are separated with comma. So here def arithmetic operations x and y. So here we have only we have only two parameters. Then return x plus y, comma x minus y, comma x into y, comma x by y, comma x modulo division y. So in the single statement only we are returning 5 values. So that is sum, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo. So these are all values are in the form of tuple. So the values are x is equal to 20 and y is equal to 10. Okay. Then print addition, comma m, subtraction, sub, multiplication, mul, division, div, modulus, mod. So ikkada sum, it is sum. So the output is sum, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulo division. So here we are returning these 5 values. If multiple arguments are returned, the default return type is tuple. If we need a list, we have to convert explicitly. So the default, when we are returning number of values to the calling function, by default, those number of values, those elements are enclosed in the tuple format. If you want to display it in the list format, then we have to convert that tuple to list explicitly by using list function or list constructor. Def arithmetic operations, these are the return statement. The arithmetic operations are 10, 100, 10. Then it is tuple packing. For I in return, for I in packing, print I. So these are all values. Scope and lifetime of variables. Scope of a variable is a portion of a program where the variable is recognized. So parameters and variables defined inside a function are not visible from outside of the function. Hence, they are local to the scope. So which argument or which parameters are declared in the inside of the function, those are the local scope. And which are not in the local scope, those values are global scope. The lifetime of a variable is the period throughput which the variable exists in the memory. The lifetime of variable inside a function as long as the function executes. They are destroyed once we return from the function. So here scope and lifetime scope, we have local scope and global scope. The variables which are in the function definition, those variables have the local scope. The variables which are not in the function definition, those are the global scope. Example here, 10 is in the function definition, that's why 10 has local scope. Here 20 is not in the definition, function definition. Why? Because here we don't have any indentation, that's why it is out of the function. That's why x is equal to 20. This is a global scope and this is a local scope. Inside a function, x is equal to 20 has the local scope. X is equal to 20 is placed outside of the function definition, that's why 20 has the global scope. So this is. Then the types of arguments. So there are 4 types of arguments in Python. Those are positional arguments, keyword arguments, default arguments, and arbitrary or variable length arguments. First one is positional arguments. If we define any function with n parameters, then we have to call that function with n arguments only. If we call it with a different number of arguments, the interpreter will show an error message. So that means the arguments in the calling function, the arguments in the definition should be same. When we call a function with some values, the value get assigned to arguments according to their position. So here we show name comma message. Here we have 2 arguments in the function definition. Hi is a message, name, this name plus this message. So here I am printing hi with name and message. Next, now I am calling the function wish Shiva comma good morning. Shiva is the name value of to the name and message is the good morning. So wish Krishna comma good afternoon, wish Vishnu comma good evening, Raju comma. So these are the name arguments parameter. This is a message parameter. Then the output is this one. Suppose here in function calling, in function definition we have 2 arguments. In function calling also we have 2 arguments. That's why it will not give any error. But if you wrote 3 arguments in function call, then it will give an error. Why? Because we have only 2 arguments in function definition. If you call a function with 3 arguments or a function with 1 argument, then it compulsory it will give some error message. Here example, wish Shiva. Shiva is a value for name, but here there is no value for the message. That's why wish missing one required positional argument, MSG. Next wish. So this is in this function call we have only 1 parameter. That means less than the number of parameters in the function definition. So wish Shiva good morning and good night. This takes only 2 positional arguments, but here we are calling this function with 3 parameters values, with 3 values. So here we have 1 extra value, that's why it will give an error. Next one is keyword arguments. Python allows function to be called using keyword arguments. When we call the function, the order, the position of arguments can be changed. Here order is not important, but the number of arguments must be same. But in positional arguments, the order is compulsory. We have to maintain the order and we have to maintain the number of arguments also. So in keyword arguments, it is some more change in the from the positional arguments. Here the number of arguments in the calling function and the function definition should be same, but here we don't want to follow the order. If you change the order, you can change, but the number of arguments in both the function they are same. That means in calling function and in the function definition compulsory same number of arguments, but the order should be different. Wish name comma message. Hi name message, first argument and second argument, but this is function name and function definition. Now I am calling the function with Wish is equal to name. This is called as a keyword. Keyword is nothing but this one. This argument name is compulsory. We have to write. This is the keyword. Name comma name is equal to Shiva. MSG is equal to good morning. But here in the second, wish message is equal to good afternoon, name is equal to Raju. So in this example and in this example, here we are following the order, but here we are not following the order. So by using these are the keywords. Message and name is the keyword. Here also message and name is the keywords. So here as it is we are calling the function. As it is, we are calling the function, but here we are changing the order. But we will not get any error. Why? Because this is a keyword arguments. That's why it will not give any error. Next, if you wanted to use positional arguments and keyword arguments in the same function definition, then we should take positional arguments first and the keyword arguments next. So priority of the positional arguments and keyword arguments is first is positional argument, then keyword arguments. Suppose if you call a function with keyword argument first and positional argument next, then it will give an error like this. Default arguments. We can have a default values for function arguments. Def, wish, name comma message. So in the function definition only I am writing the default value. So wherever calling a function with a name and message, in every function calling the default message good morning should be print. Why? Because this value we are passing the value default value in the function definition only. That's why. So name comma message is always compulsory in all calling functions. It is good morning only. Wish Shiva, Krishna comma good evening. But here good evening we wrote, but the default message is good morning. Next Raju, good morning. So here we mention the value for message. MSG is equal to good morning. So here we default value we wrote here. Here we change the value with good evening. So here we have value. That's why Krishna good evening. But in this line, wish Shiva and wish Raju. So only one parameter is there. The second parameter is not there. That's why the default message good morning will print. If we are not passing the argument to message, then default value will be taken. Here in this example, Krishna and good evening. So we are passing the value, different value here we are passing. That's why different value. So in this Shiva and Raju, we are not passing any value. That's why it took the default message and print. Any number of arguments in a function can have a default value. But once we have a default argument, all the arguments of its right must have the default values. That is, after default arguments, non-default arguments should not be taken. Default argument should be last. Name comma Shiva and message. Wish good morning. So this is a default argument. Error. Non-default arguments follow default arguments. Non-default arguments follow default arguments. So here name is equal to Shiva is a default argument. Message is non-default argument. That's why it will give an error. Next, arbitrary or variable length arguments. Function can take a variable number of arguments. That means, so in the previous examples, we took only 1 argument, 2 arguments and 3 arguments, etc. But if you don't know the number of arguments required for our function definition or for our task, for our for specific thing, then we have to write the arbitrary variable length arguments. Arbitrary variable length arguments is like it, pointer n. This indicates number of arguments. Then we can pass values to number of arguments. So here we are not mentioning any. These are the number of arguments to the calling function. like that. Here, parameters can take variable arguments. Parameter is a tuple type by default, as it can take variable arguments. Definition add of star n. Print variable arguments add. So here this add function with no parameters, add with only one parameter, add with only one parameter, add 10 comma 22 parameters, add 10 20 30. That means if you don't know the number of arguments to mention, then we can use this arbitrary length arguments. So variable argument like that. So this is the functions in Python. Thank you.